Hey everyone, welcome to this live show where I answer your questions. We are live every Tuesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1900 hours Universal Time. And we answer your questions. I answer your questions to the best of my knowledge and sometimes have help from our viewers. So I hope you enjoy today's show. This is the Live Tech Show number 25, and it's Tuesday, March 22nd, 2016. Hope you enjoy our show. If you have a question, and I mean it's very technological, it's like general question about technology. It could be about Macs, PCs, smartphones, stuff like that. Helpwithyourcomputers at gmail.com is the place to send the question, and that's where we look for the questions. Don't post a question in the video description or below the video, because if you comment, I will not see that question. It has to be sent to helpwithyourcomputers at gmail.com. And of course, all the questions are from you. And I hope you enjoy today's show. We're on every Tuesdays, and I'm Gilles, the tech guy from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and that's where this show is coming from. Hope you enjoy today's show. Roughly 90 minutes, sometimes a little more, and of course, depending on the questions we have. Hey, maybe I've helped you, maybe you like the shows, maybe you like to have live stuff. Why not help me with donations? They keep the show on the air. They keep improving the shows. They keep me, really doing the best that I can to help everybody with their questions, and also continue on the, helpful videos. A lot of you tell me that the videos are really helpful. Why not, any little bit helps, even if it's a little something, doesn't matter. You know what? Everything helps. So thanks to everybody that already donated. And by the way, today I've got a beer because somebody donated and actually attached kind of a rule to his donation that I had to pay myself a beer. So here's the beer. This is a Fin du Monde, which is a local beer here. So thanks for the donation, and I fulfilled your little suggestion there that we've of course, going to have a nice little beer while we answer everybody's questions today. Hope you enjoy the show. And cheers, by the way, everybody. So PayPal donations can be sent to the email address that you see on your screen here. And they're always welcome. So we have a first question. First question today. That is a question that comes from Fred. Fred is in Minnesota in the United States, and he says that he's about to change his smartphone. He doesn't know what to choose. Currently, he's got a Galaxy S4, which is an older Galaxy phone. He's thinking of, should I get the new Galaxy S7? Is there any other thing interesting? Should he get an iPhone? He'd appreciate my input on this. Well, basically, you know what? I am exactly at that moment right now, okay? This is my trusty old iPhone 5, and it's going to be changed in the next week or two. I've been, using this for 3 years. It's been a good phone, and it always, worked very well. But I am at that point where I'm thinking, I've always had, except for the beginning when I had like Nokia phones and stuff like that, this is my third iPhone. And now I'm at a point where I'm thinking, you know what, maybe I'd like something else than an iPhone. So basically, I am looking very, very seriously at the Galaxy S7 Edge or the Galaxy S7. I think that could be real cool as a phone. And I think it will be nice to have such a phone. It is very powerful, very fast. I've seen many people in the tech world that actually use the Galaxy S7. They seem to love it. It seems to be a great phone. For me, it would be a departure from the iPhone and basically be my first Android phone. So that's what I'm looking at right now. It depends also on your budget because some phones are more expensive than others. Though the Galaxy S7 is, it's in one of the most expensive phones that we see. It is very nice, and I actually really enjoy it. Another phone that, if I'm not taking a Galaxy S7, then I would take another iPhone probably. Think about what you want as features. First of all, screen size. Do you like big phones? Do you like something that's huge? So that's, of course, something that you should think about for your next phone. Frankly, I want to have a bigger screen than the iPhone 5, which is a little small. And even, the phone looks small when you compare it to all of my friends' phones. I find it that it's just so, so small. So basically, I want to change my iPhone 5, that's for sure. It is still quite a powerful phone, though. Even though it's a little slower when I compare it to my friend's iPhone 6 Plus S, I do see that this is slower, but it's not slow in the sense that pretty much everything it does is quite fast anyway. So, I'm at that point also. I'm not sure. I am interested also in the iPhone 6 Plus for its huge screen size. I would maybe like something like that. If I look at the Android phones, there's not a lot of stuff that really, really is interesting to me, except maybe the Samsung Galaxy S7. I know there are a few ones that are interesting, like the Moto G and stuff like that from Motorola. I don't know, but I'd say that my mind is, pretty much set on two devices, and which one I'll choose, I'm not sure. Either the iPhone 6s Plus or the Galaxy S7 myself. So, look at screen size. Do you want to have a big screen? Look at what you have already, because sometimes that can decide what you want to have in the future. If you've done everything in Android, you're used to using Android. Well, maybe some new device with Android might be interesting. An iOS phone, remember that iOS or the iPhone is a closed system. If you have a Samsung phone, what's cool is the Android operating system is open. It's something that you can do pretty much what you want. It's like having Windows. It's really something you do what you want with the operating system. So you can customize the phone as you wish. On the other side, the iPhones are a closed circuit system. And what makes me want to change from the iPhone also is the fact that, iOS 7, 8, 9, same old thing. Nothing new, nothing exciting. And I did get a question once on my live feed. People saying, I'm not excited anymore about these phones because I feel every upgrade is the same. And that's true. We are at a point where smartphones are boring. They're always the same, and they've been the same for the past few years. So, check, what you think would be interesting for you. And of course, another thing to check for in a smartphone, if you are away all the time, for example, I am away a lot. As a tech guy, I will be days, all day gone. Battery life is one hell of an important thing. With this, I've got a power pack that I keep in my bag because when I want to use this all day, it doesn't go all day. Very little phones will go all day if you use them a lot. So you might want to check for what's the longest battery life and, the overall system itself. From what I see, the Galaxy S7 Edge is pretty surprising in battery life. So I don't know. It's up to you. Check what you have, what you feel. Do you feel like changing the operating system? That's the thing for somebody, like I was saying, it's kind of boring because what's happening is everything is the same and been the same for a long time. So I'm bored with iOS. And having an Android phone will actually make me, maybe it's going to be something new. It's like a new operating system. I've used Android on tablets, and I've used Android on a Android device that I have on the TV. And, it's different. So why not, move to something else? I think that could be interesting. That's for sure. So hope part of my answer helped you in checking what smartphone you might want to have in the future. But I surely want to. I'm really, I'll let you guys know for sure what I got. But probably next week I'll have my new phone. I was looking today at my contract ended now, so maybe next week I'll have my new phone, and I'll show you guys why I decided to choose what I chose. I still ain't sure. Okay, more on today's question now. Tim Robinson has having some issues with tagging videos on Dailymotion, and he's using a kind of a alternate way of editing to put more tags and stuff. So this thing that I have to say about Dailymotion, first of all, my own experience with Dailymotion as of now, I've been on Dailymotion now for what, 2-3 weeks, and I started posting and everything, and I look at the monetization and at the views. One thing that stands out of Dailymotion immediately is how little views compared to YouTube. I would say that on YouTube, I probably would have had more views than Dailymotion gave me in 3 weeks. It's not that the views are not there. They are there, and you know what? If I look, I'm just going to look at my stats right now. And so this is going to give you guys an idea. If I look at my analytics for the number of views, 701 views in 2 weeks and a half. It's not zero. It's better than nothing. The platform isn't bad at all. The monetization, I think if the views were there, that's my opinion on it. If the views were there, I would say that the monetization is more interesting on Dailymotion because it is better. If I look at the average RPM, which is the average amount per 1,000 views, it's much higher than what YouTube gives. But the problem is, can I get the number of views on Dailymotion that I would get on YouTube? That's far from saying yes. Of course, my experiment is only starting, and it's still going on. So I don't know. For now, I'm not sure. As for the tags, 2 things about the tags, because a lot of people told me, oh yeah, but what I find annoying? One of the things about Dailymotion also is the fact that the tag, you can just use 12 tags maximum per video. That, people find that a problem. I don't, because I don't think you need more than, honestly, I don't think you need more than 5 to 10 tags per video. And the reason why is that the way Google will interact in the searches with the tags and the way Dailymotion also reacts with the tags, I don't think it goes past the first 5 or 6 tags. I think even if you put 50 tags, it doesn't increase the visibility of your video. I don't believe that does. I think, and I still think, and I've read it at many, many, many places, it is way better to have a good title than to have tags. And if you have a good title that explains everything that your video is about, it will help you actually get more views than having 60 tags. I think having too much tags is useless, honestly. And if even if you look at, I look at some websites that sometimes people will tag articles, and basically they never put more than 4 or 5 tags. And I think it's just choosing the correct tags to get the people on. That's for sure. So I don't know. As for the tags, Tim, that you have problems actually tagging after one, it doesn't work. I don't have that problem. I upload my videos with Edge, and I've basically been using Edge 90. I'm now at 95% Edge use on the internet. I like Microsoft Edge for the browsing, and it is a good browser, and it does everything I want now. So I'm at 95% of Edge, and so Edge is what I use to upload my videos. I would think that it's probably in the way that it handles the browser you're using. And also, one of the things that I've noticed is the page often reacts weirdly. Sometimes I'll post a video online and then it will just kind of freeze there, and you're wondering what is it doing actually. And it's actually putting the video online and everything, but it happens sometimes that I have to go back and edit in order to have everything working okay. Even sometimes when it freezes like that, it didn't put it online. It's online, but it's not public. It's not published yet. So there's a few glitches, but I don't have the tag problem. That's not a problem for me. So maybe try it with another browser. It could be the way that it's done, basically. Of course, there's a few things about Daily Motions also that are different from YouTube. YouTube, you can basically, upload 200 videos a day, and it's just gonna take them. And there's kind of from what I know, no real limit to number of videos on a channel or something. On Daily Motion, I think it's because they don't want to have spammed videos, like people that just upload and upload and upload useless stuff. They have kind of this limit where you have, I think it's 12 videos a day, or a maximum of 2 hours total of videos a day. So it means that, for example, it's difficult to post stuff that are very long. And then again, it's okay. You know what? Except for shows that are live like this, that have a certain length. One of the things about videos is that I think the shorter the video that explains something, the better. If you just go, I'm explaining this. Some of you might notice that if you look at my Windows channel 3 years ago and today, you'll notice that my videos are way shorter today. I'm kind of really direct to the point, and it's people appreciate that. I still get people that say, well, it was way too long, and you should have gone to the point. The reason is when I don't go to the point is because I want people to actually understand stuff. What I hate about people that say that, is that they don't think about one thing. Maybe the details of this or that functionality. You just want to have where you have to, remove a check mark to do something. I understand that. But my Windows channel is aimed at the beginner user to intermediate user. The expert is not interested in my channel, and it's not the purpose of my channel. It's not an expert channel. I use my ability to explain as simply as possible something. So basically, I will add information to something because I think people have not enough knowledge about it. And if they can just get one brief little bit of information saying, oh, really, that's the reason why, or the reason behind something, well, I've done at least a little bit. So, if you're about to post something like, oh, your video was too long to do, it helped me, but it's too long, just shut up, okay? That's all I have to say. I don't even understand why you took the time to just say that. That's it. For those that wonder, my Dailymotion channel is dailymotion.com/learnwindows. It's basically a copy of the YouTube video that I put on Dailymotion. So if something would happen on my channel, there's Dailymotion that's still working. It's an experiment, but there's other things that I'm thinking about that will, of course, I hope, help. But think of Dailymotion as not being as popular at all as YouTube. Far from there. It is not at all popular compared to YouTube. So that's for sure. Well, and a quick question that Peter Sargent is saying is, where would I like people to watch my videos? It doesn't matter. Watch it on the platform that you wish to watch them on. I still prefer, if things continue, I'd say that I still prefer that you watch on YouTube because of the way that everything is working and how I can, tag and enter tag and, I have other channels. Sometimes I'll, like share some videos from other channels of mine. So it's interesting for that because on YouTube, you can have an interaction with other channels and say, look, I'm sharing these videos from another channel of mine. In case you're interested in that subject, these exist. So, you know what? The important thing is to watch the videos on the platform you like the most. And that's it. I don't want to force anybody to watch. What I really want is that people that like what I do simply follow me wherever I will be. So Dailymotion is, if I disappear from YouTube for some reason, I'm on Dailymotion. You all know that you can go there and I'll continue posting stuff and we'll see from there what else is going to happen. So, choose whatever platform you find interesting and don't worry about it. It's up to you, not to me, to choose a platform. So that's what I have to say about Dailymotion. And another question that is from, I think, last week. Yep. From Tim Robinson about a dual monitor setup. Now, Tim has a dual monitor setup. One is on HDMI. The other one is on the analog VGA connection. And sometimes he doesn't need to have the dual setup. As he says, often he just uses the main monitor on the HDMI. The odd thing, if I have disabled my second monitor in the display settings, I can't see the post screen when I boot or reboot. It shows up, however, on the monitor which is on VGA connection. It's as though the software initializations prefers to output the first video signal to the analog connection. I thought this was odd behavior. One of the things you got to know, Tim, is that when you're in the post, there's no software. The software doesn't interact, like Windows doesn't interact here. It's your video card or your graphics adapter. It's the one reacting. It has a basic setup that is its own setup. So your graphics adapter has a set way of doing things. So when it looks at the ports, the HDMI and the VGA, it has a preference. It will say, okay, two monitors are plugged in, because it sees that there's something there. And it's going to say, well, my default is VGA. And that is independent of any setting in Windows or in software. It's its own setting, internal setting. Each graphics card has that. When the graphics card is on the motherboard, sometimes on the motherboard itself, you have, I did see some motherboards that had default in which you could change what output you want. You could actually tell it to output to both monitors. Some graphics adapters will automatically send to both outputs anyway, whatever you do. But when you're in the post, which is very basic place in the computer, remember that you are in the basic settings of the graphics adapter, and it decides what it wants to do depending on what it sees. So for example, when you say you disconnect one monitor, it shifts to the other. That's simply because it's looking at the ports and it's saying, oh, I don't get any input from that, so probably there's nothing plugged there. I'm going to go on this one instead. And that's what happens. And remember one thing is that even when a monitor's shut down, it can actually interact. It still can interact when it's in sleep mode, not totally shut down usually, but usually, we leave the monitor just go to sleep instead of shutting it off. It's still sending out a little something to the graphics adapters to say, I'm here. If you ever need me, I'm available. And so the graphics adapter will just go, and a lot of graphics adapter, when you have VGA and HDMI, have this old way of thinking VGA is the default. I've seen that on many, even very recent cards where, it just wants to send to VGA. And you have to tweak to have it send out to HDMI. So, that's the thing that you have to check. Apart from that, it's not, you find it an odd behavior, but it's not really an odd behavior. It's like I say, this is independent of the graphics adapter itself, not even the software. It's a preference that the graphics adapter is programmed to do. I want to send it here, and that's my preference. And unless you've changed my mind for some reason, it's here that I want to simply output my my video, and that's it. I also have another question about dual monitors, and this one comes from Ben. Ben says, what's the difference between duplicate and extended? I kind of don't really understand. I've noticed when I extend my display, I don't see my icons on the other screen. But I don't really understand what's the use for the extended or duplicate. Can you explain? So here's the thing. When you have two screens on a computer, you'll have the possibility to duplicate. Duplicate means you have the same thing on both screens. Okay, so you have whatever you're doing on the main screen is going to be appearing on the second screen, and it's going to be exactly identical. Extended is like taking your two screens and it's like merging them one next to the other. It becomes one huge monitor. So the first screen with your icons is actually extended to the second screen. And if you actually move your mouse, because maybe you haven't tried it, if you move your mouse to the edge of your screen, you'll see that your mouse will jump to the other screen. Why? Because for the computer, you now have a giant desktop that is across two monitors. And some people like that. I personally use that option when I actually duplicate monitors. Why? Because you can have a nice window open here on one monitor, another window open in another monitor. And so not the same information is displayed on each monitor. You have more information. So if you need to read an article, to write something in another screen, it's cool because your article's here, the other screen's there with your word processor. You just work on whatever you want to do. So that's the extended. I don't actually, duplicate is if you say you want to have a setup with 2-3 monitors and they are at different places and they need to show the same information. Of course, you'll duplicate the monitors. They'll show the same information. So whatever program is running, showing the same output. But in a setup where the screens are in front of you, you'll want to extend it to have kind of a bigger desktop You can even have icons on one desktop and different icons on the other part of the screen, which is the other screen. Don't think of it, extended. Don't think of it as two desktops. It's one huge desktop, basically. So if you have three screens and they're extended, you have one hell of a really, really, really big desktop that's extending through the other screens. So when you move your mouse, you're moving around your desktop across different screens. So that's pretty much what's happening. And Ben has a last question, and the last question is, a friend of mine has a Sony TV. I was the other day, I brought my laptop over. We wanted to watch a few movies from Netflix. I plugged in my laptop. The TV had a brief flash, but no picture was showing up. His TV is a Sony TV and gives me the model number. Well, I can tell you one thing. Sony TVs have this very, very weird way of working with the setups of the screen. When you output a screen to a Sony TV, it needs to be in a very specific resolution and refresh rate. And I can tell you one thing. I went crazy on many, many different setups with Sony TVs. I even was called so many times as a tech guy just because people would say, hey, I got a Sony TV, picture doesn't show up. And everybody's telling me, oh, my computer's problem is, no, the problem is the Sony TV. The way the Sony TV handles the video output through HDMI or VGA is one hell of a complex way. So basically, you'll have to find, and you know what? I'm going to tell you a little story with this. The last Sony TV that I had to show a picture on is somewhere like at the beginning of this year in January or something like that. And it's a friend of mine that had a Sony TV. He has a desktop that he plugs on his 60-inch Sony TV. So when he upgraded, because he was on Windows 7, and he told me, should I upgrade to Windows 10? And I said, yeah, you like new stuff. Upgrade to Windows 10, and you'll see how it goes. And you can always, reinstall Windows 7 if you don't like it. Goes on Windows 10 all the time on Windows 7 because at the time I had forgot how complicated it was to get that damn picture going on the Sony TV on Windows 7. So he upgrades to Windows 10, and behold, once it's upgraded, black screen flashes, nothing there. And that's where I kind of, add a little flash, and I said, oh God, that's the TV that's so complicated to have a picture on. So basically, it's just because you need to have the correct resolution and refresh rate mix so that the TV can actually display a picture. And it's really complex. If you have a monitor available, plug in your laptop and try to force your computer into a specific setting, then plug the HDMI or VGA to the Sony TV and try it out. In his case, it was just complex because we needed to have a specific resolution. And to give you guys an idea of how I did it, because I had no other possibility, I used the keyboard because, if you don't have a mouse, you can go through the different options in Windows with the keyboard and the tab key. All I did was, okay, 3 tabs, I'm in this window for resolution. 3 times the arrow down will change the resolution to this. 1 tab for the OK when I press enter. So I just remembered how many tabs, how many enters, how many keystrokes of whatever key to go through the correct menus to change it. And that worked because I remembered, okay, 6 tabs, 2 enters, two arrows up, 2 more tabs, and so on. It actually worked. And that's how I did it, pretty much blindfold, because I couldn't see at all what I was doing. So what I did is I practiced on the screen that I could see, And then I said, okay, I've got it. I'm going to repeat the same setup. But man, the Sony TVs, they really, really are. Some of the models are really complex to get a correct setup for sure. And they're just incredible. And I don't know, it's, the way that some of these devices are actually basically handling the signal. And it's, normally what happens is that the screen and the computer can talk together, and they like, okay, when I plugged my computer for the first time here, it's not complicated. It looked, at the screen, and it said, oh, you can do 1920 by 1080. And it just set up the resolution, okay. But for some reason at the Sony TVs, it just can't check it out. I know some TVs also with some computers, sometimes I've seen a Sony TV driver, so that when you plug it in, it recognizes that it's a Sony and it will adjust to that, to a specific resolution. So, that's some of the weird things that you see through time. You'll have to play with that. But once you find a resolution, don't touch it. Don't touch it at all. Just remember, it's going to always default to that, and never change that. It's just horrible. Okay. You're watching the questions and answer, our live tech show, every Tuesdays at 3 p.m. And that's 1900 Universal Time. We answer your questions that you can send to helpwithyourcomputers@gmail.com. That's where I get the questions. That's where I answer. If I don't answer today, I'll be answering next week in our Learn More of, answering your questions on the live tech show. Okay, Redstone questions. Jason Walker wants to know, when do I get Windows 10 Redstone? So when do we get Windows 10 Redstone? And also a few more questions about Redstone. That's from Jamel, that is in India and watches the show, the rerun of the show, because it's too late at night when he actually wants to watch. So he looks at the saved show on the YouTube channel. Okay, so for the questions, first of all, when will Redstone be released? June. It's still old. It seems that June is the time. June is the time, and it's still pretty much what we think. It's going to be very interesting, because one of the things that's really cool about this is that Microsoft has been kind of telling us that it's going to be really, really amazing, the new features we're going to get. And this is kind of, surprising, because basically, as we get by and we're getting close, and we're already, getting into April in a little more than a week. What's interesting is they're telling us of all these incredible features, but we have pretty much nothing yet. Extensions just got into Edge. So we know that extensions will be there. Extensions just arrived to Edge in the latest build. And if you haven't seen it, you can go see my video. Of course, they're in the first, beta version, basically. But, extensions are there. But there's supposed to be a lot of major stuff. And one of the things that I think, one of the places and one of the Microsoft events we need to watch is Build. Build will happen on April the 1st, which is a Friday, I believe. And of course, I will be watching Build very closely. There's supposed to be a lot of talk about Windows 10 in the Build conference on April 1st. And we are going to apparently get our minds blown by the new features of Windows 10. So that's going to be interesting to see. I'm thinking of doing a live coverage maybe of the build conference. That's going to be, I'm going to check the possibilities of that. One thing for sure, I'll be commenting on everything that we have at the build conference that I'll be watching live on April 1st. It's going to be interesting to see. Some of you, actually, I got a comment this week. Basically, it's that a lot of you said, with June being so close, how can they have all these great features we don't have yet? Well, you know what? Let's go back in time. When we got Windows 10, for those that were insiders before Windows 10 was released, Windows 10 had a big jump in all of the features and all the stuff. Insiders got a huge build number jump just before it was released. We've got about a week before the official Windows version. And the jump build version really was way, way bigger. So you know what? I suspect there's the insider builds here, and there's Microsoft with their own builds here. And they're sending us little bits here and there on this main track. But you know what? On that one, that's where they're having right now tests of much bigger stuff. And I think that's something that we're going to have to check for. I think that's going to eventually merge into our main insider preview builds a few weeks or a week before the official release of Redstone. And we're going to see major improvements of all sorts of details. So, I think that's what's going to happen. So build conference, April 1st, that's going to be something to check for. And I think we should, we'll know more about what's happening for sure on the Windows 10 Redstone. For now, we just have to, check the insider builds and see what it actually brings us for sure. Windows 10 builds, as we're talking about builds, a few questions from builds. One from, let's just check it out here. Okay, one from a user that's YT71. Question is, since build 14271, I've had a lag in my video. This is beyond the audio. The longer you watch the video, the worse the lag gets, and so on. Crackles in the sound and everything. He's updated, rolled back the driver, and no help. Look, what I always say to people that are in the insider previews, there are no questions that you can ask double answer for that. And the reason is, if you've accepted to be an insider, you've accepted that problems will arise. Okay, an insider, for those that don't know, there's a program on the Microsoft that's the Windows Insider program. Anybody can become an insider. I am an insider. I have a machine dedicated for that. And it's very simple. There's a reason why I have a machine that's dedicated for that. Insider previews are unfinished software. This is what it looks like right now. And it's not meant for everybody. The insider program, when you look at the details of the insider program, it tells you that basically you have to be ready to reinstall Windows at any moment because of some problems. Glitches will happen from time to time. Since the last 3 or 4 builds, I had to reinstall Windows once. I had issues installing another build that I had to try 3 times, 4 times before it worked. That's an insider. That's being an insider. You have to accept that. So I can't help you with that. And you got to understand that as builds get around, well, the latest builds will give you fixes to problems that you had in other builds. One of the things that every insider needs to know, there is an insider hub. There's a place that you can check for what people have as problems. You can post a subject and say, I've got this problem, and I use this or this or this hardware, because that's the place where Microsoft is looking at what's, the most common problems and is actually trying to fix it. So you need to participate in that. That's for sure. So another question that I have, and this one is from Steve. Steve in Lafayette in New Orleans says, lovely show. Here's a question. I've embarked in the insider preview program. I want to get out. I did stop insider builds from coming in, but now I have a build that has a watermark. Is it still activated and is it okay? Or do I have to reinstall Windows? What do I have to do? Yeah, that's the thing. When you are, because actually in the insider build, in between the official versions, so any insider that's been an insider for a long time, I've seen that you get builds and you get a watermark, which is a little inscription on the bottom right of your screen that gives you the build number and the version. Now, when you have a watermark on your screen, that expires in 6 to 9 months. Those builds expire after 6 or 9 months. So you stop being an insider, but you're stuck with an insider version of Windows 10. No problem if you are stuck there and want just to go back to regular Windows 10. What you'll need to do, get the Microsoft creation tool, download the latest image file, which is the one for version 15.11 November, and simply reinstall Windows from scratch, clean install, and it will activate. Because you've been an insider for a long time, it will activate. If you've never been an insider and you started getting insider previews, it doesn't mean that your Windows 10 will activate. That's very important to know. You need to have the minimum requirements. That's a valid Windows 7 8.1 key. But if you've been an insider for a long time and you had the 15.11 version and it was activated, just use the Microsoft creation tool and download the latest version, install from scratch from a USB thumb drive or a DVD, and it is going to work. And another question about insider previews, this one is from Philip. Philip says, I am stuck at an older insider preview. I can't upgrade. Blue screen, rolls back all the time. What can I do to have the latest build? Yeah, the builds, as long as the builds are in the fast ring, you don't have the possibility to download an image from that. So it means that what you need to do is exactly what I've done in, not the last build, but the build before. I couldn't upgrade. It just always stuck there and it just didn't want to work. So basically what I did is I simply erased everything, reinstalled the official version of Windows 10 from the media creation tool. Once that was installed, I went into the Windows Update, into advanced options, and I reactivated the insider previews. I said, yeah, I want to receive insider previews. I put the slider to fast for the fast ring, and it downloaded and it installed correctly. I think some of these upgrades are sometimes a problem of the previous build that has a problem in your computer. So by doing that, it actually fixed it and it was working okay. So reinstall Windows 10, and from there, go reactivate the builds, put yourself in the fast ring. It might take up to 48 hours before the build shows up. That is something to know. In my case, it took 24 hours. After 24 hours, the build showed up in the Windows updates, and it installed. And since then, I've been okay, and all the builds have been working correctly. So Hope that helps. Some problems. Ricky Poole says that he's had a lot of problems with his critical error. Your start menu isn't working. We'll try to fix it next time you sign in. Infinite loop problem. Also, couldn't have the login to account. So he had a crippled account. He couldn't get in. It said that the password wasn't right. That is a complex issue. There are some people that have problems with the start menu and also with the login. From what I've seen, and I don't know, I'd like to know from what you have experienced. Did you upgrade from Windows 7? I'd like to know that, because all of my own clients that I have seen with Windows 10 issues upgraded their computer from Windows 7. So I believe and I think that comes from the upgrade. There's something that went wrong, or there's something that in that those options, when it upgraded all your stuff and all your start menu stuff, broke something. And it might work for now, but someday you just start your computer and then it's broken. The latest that I've seen is a client of mine about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, that had an issue. We had upgraded his machine from Windows 7 to Windows 10. It worked fine for a month. And then one morning, he calls me up and says, hey, my start menu is giving me an error message. And what's interesting is that in his case, I told him, well, I'm going to go and check it out. And in between that moment where when he called me and we were supposed to see each other, there was a patch Tuesday with a cumulative update for Windows 10. And the funny thing is that cumulative update fixed everything. Because he called me up the next day. He said, hey, I got a bunch of updates and now my start menu is back and normal. So there were some fixes there. What you're talking about with the problems you're really having with the login, was your login, were you in a Microsoft account or you were in a local account? Because that is different. If you're in a Microsoft account, it should have followed for the password. But one of the things that's very important, if your computer is multilingual, that's something that a lot of people here in Quebec, in our part of Canada, the problem is a lot of people are in French Canada and have French language computers. And the thing is, when there were updates to Windows 10, sometimes it switches the language of your keyboard. And what's happening is that it sometimes switches the letters and the numbers. If you use your keypad to enter numbers, make sure it's on and it's making numbers. If you not sure, use the numbers on the top row of your keyboard. That is a common error. Now, if you are in a local account, you can use a tool, which is the NT password removal tool that's available. And that still works in Windows 10. When you look at NT password reset, you'll go to a website that is pogostick.net. You'll see this. Okay, remember the top, what it looks like. You need to be in this page. This is the offline NT password registry editor. This you burn on a either on USB thumb drive, a bootable USB thumb drive, or on a CD or DVD, and you boot from this. This will give you access in a black screen. Actually, it's a very minimized Linux version that you're having with command lines. And it will actually ask you what you want to do. And you can reset your password here, which means that there's no more password. You just press enter next time that it asks you for a password. That might have worked. one of the things that can happen is that I have seen cases, and that could be what you're having also, cases where the user account is corrupted in Windows. That happens. Two things that I've seen very often: corrupted user accounts, and also problematic user accounts that kind of change to a temporary account, and your main user is still here. It's just that the computer can't really access that and goes into a different account. So that could be something that happened. It could be a corruption of your hard drive for some reason. You've pressed the power button and shut down in the middle of a Windows session. Maybe doing a check disk /R in the command line. You can also try an SFC /scan now to check the files of Windows. Because I understand you've changed your user account, so it's a little problematic. So, that's something you got to check for sure. Unfortunately, it does happen. I've seen user accounts completely crippled in Windows. And you know what? It's not a Windows 10 problem. I can tell you that. Windows accounts have been having corruption problems, and also the temporary account problem is a problem that's since Windows 7. The first time I've ever seen a temporary account in Windows was with Windows 7. It seems to be some kind of problem that's been going on with a feature of Windows since Windows 7 that's not been changed. So in Windows 7, I saw that for the first time. Windows 8.1, I saw it again. People are saying, oh, it's Windows 8.1. What a bad operating system. Yeah, well, it's not Windows 8.1. I did see it on Windows 7. And people were like, oh, really? But I never had that. No, you never had that. But I did, as a tech guy, see it on Windows 7 many times. Same thing for Windows 10. You did the right thing here by creating another user account. And yes, you can import pretty much everything. You're talking about your Plex, stuff, the Plex media server and everything. You can, change, send that for sure. And for one last question that you have, your friends are telling you that you should run a Linux distro. You're giving me two choices for that has Plex, which is Ubuntu and Fedora. On a machine might give me better performance, particularly since it's older hardware. Yeah, some Linux distros do have a faster, do give you a faster computer of sorts. Windows 10 is pretty amazing in speed, and I can tell you that I'd like to really see tests of Linux distros versus Windows 10. It all, I don't know what to say to that. It depends on up to you. For the Linux distro, do you want to change your machine to Linux? Go ahead if that's what you wish, and remember that having Linux is going to change a lot. There's a lot of stuff on that's not available on Linux that you can do in Windows. But Linux is also a very nice distro. It's an older computer, but still, you're telling me the dual core 2.7, 4 gigs RAM. I don't, Windows should run pretty fine in there also. I might not use the Ubuntu version though, because I find it really sluggish compared to other Linux distros. And for Plex, I believe that you can install it on pretty much any versions of Linux that you want. It's not just Ubuntu and Fedora. It's just that some versions have it included in the distro itself, so you don't have to install it. But if you use something like Linux Mint or other distros, you can get Plex to be installed on those also. Linux Mint, for example, has the same core as Ubuntu. So you should have Plex available for install on Linux Mint. I can tell you that. And good luck with that. There are, by the way, one thing that I've seen on critical error. If you Google it right, critical error on your start menu isn't working. There's a registry fix that I've seen that some people tell me has some success on that. You can check that out, maybe. I think that could be interesting to fix your problems. But you know, what I would do if one last suggestion. So, you know, I know it's a pain in the butt to reinstall Windows, especially when you got a lot of stuff and you know you got your Plex server all set up and it's kind of complex here. But I would say that you should do a clean install Windows 10 to remove all the possible bugs that could arise from an earlier version of Windows. And I think it should work right. But it's, you know, sometimes it's just some machines, you know, there's an example that I answer questions regularly, Steve Mail, that has tons of problems with Windows 10. You know, and I have no problem with Windows 10. And almost every client I have has no problems with Windows 10. There are machines and there are upgrade paths that, I don't know, for some reason, there's always problems. And it's not always easy to fix or help someone with that. I can tell you that. Good luck with that, whatever you do. That's for sure. We have Tim Robinson that says, glad you're well. Well, I have ordered my Windows Phone, and that Lynx tablet I was talking about. The tablet is on Windows 10, and the phone will probably need to upgrade to Windows 10. So he's super excited to see how these work together with his computer. I think I'm not looking forward to the lack of great apps, though. But I think I'll get by, and I could always keep my Galaxy phone if I can't find a replacement app. Should have the tablet and phone either tomorrow or Thursday. That's cool. Hope you're going to have fun with that. You know, the problem with Windows Phone, pretty much what everybody always says is, you know, if you don't talk about the lack of apps in the store, the Windows Phone itself, everybody just loves the Windows Phone. It's a great device. Everybody loves the interface. Pretty much everybody that used one will even tell you it's the best interface they've ever seen in a device, a mobile device. So, you know, it's just, it depends on what you're going to do. You know, Windows Phone, I wouldn't mind having one, but I would, maybe, I'm not sure I would have one as my main phone. I'm not sure. You know, if I have an iPhone now, you missed the beginning of the show where I talked about phones, and I am now, you know, I am at the point where I'm changing my phone. My contract is finished. I got an iPhone 5, and I'm at the point of what am I getting? A Galaxy S7 Edge. I really like that phone, and everybody that has one seems to really love it. Am I getting an iPhone 6 Plus? Big screen, bigger screen than the Edge. I don't know. I want to be removed from the jail of Apple, where you just have to do what's in here. And frankly, iOS has been the same for the past 3-4 versions. It is getting boring. You know, there's nothing exciting anymore about an iPhone. So maybe that's why I want something else, like the Edge. You know, I would basically have a new operating system with Android and everything. It's going to be different. I don't know. We'll see. Stephen Mail says, has questions about Windows 8.1, and he says Microsoft just released about 30 or so optional updates with hardly any info. They tell you to click, a Windows of Internet Explorer comes up, the page says no longer available. I do install all the updates unless I take each individual number and type it into the search engine. which I don't really want to spend the time doing. They talk about a website, but nothing comes up. Another strange thing that was a few days ago, at an unusually weekly update for Flash. Two of my machines installed it, but the other two ask for a restart. I know the computers are a different model, but all are running the same OS. Does this make sense? So first of all, let's answer the first question, optional updates. You know what? I rarely install optional updates because the optional updates don't add anything to the operating system and don't fix any important stuff. They're optional because they're upgrades of certain, drivers or, features, but they're not going to change anything most of the time. So for a long time, I was not installing optional updates. You're not the only one, Laura's Life, that's on the channel, has Windows 8.1. She was always, she was telling me also about the optional update she got, which we don't have in Windows 10. So I don't know, these are optional stuff. I know you installed everything. I'm not sure, what, since I don't have an 8.1 machine anymore, I don't really know what these were about. I should check it out maybe and see what you guys had, but optional is optional. It's up to you to say yes or no. As for the restart on some machines and restart that doesn't happen on others, it's totally normal. It depends on the software of each machine. It depends on what you did on each machine, because once two machines that run 8.1 or run the same version of Windows run, we usually don't do exactly the same thing on both machines. So what happens is that one machine, something you did might prevent a feature or a file in the updates to be written. So it's waiting for that to be done. So it asks for a restart because it's the only way it can actually do it. On another machine, that all the files that it needs to change might not have a problem. It can do it while Windows is running, so it's not going to ask for a restart. There's nothing weird or odd about that. I see it all the time. I see it here with my machines. A machine wants to restart, the other one will not. It all depends on what's installed, because each machine is not exactly the same, not the same drivers, not the same thing. So they don't actually react the same way to an update for sure. So it's very weird that you have that problem with VirtualBox. Because what you say here is that that only accepts 32-bit OS. That's very weird. Also tried to download DOM-Pod Player, ran into the same issue as before, can't get rid of the closed captions. That is weird because you know what? I use DOM-Pod Player, I've watched DVDs, I've watched some videos that I downloaded, and one thing for sure, the caption for videos downloaded and the caption for DVDs is at a different place. But I just removed the check mark and I don't have them anymore. I didn't have any issues with that. That's weird. That's weird. Windows 10 disk that he downloaded for dual boot would not boot. The only way the disk would work would go into click the setup. That is because if you use the Microsoft creation tool, it does not support all types of booting on machines. So if you created the DVD from the media creation tool, it does not boot on a lot of UEFI machines. Doesn't on mine here. What you need to do is download the ISO file, the image file, and use a program called Rufus, R-U-F-U-S. And with Rufus, you create a bootable USB thumb drive, and that's going to work. That's going to work. But not all machines boot from a DVD with the media creation tool. So Rufus is available. at, let's just check it out, Rufus. Yeah, Rufus is simply at rufus.akeo.ie, and it's this website. Don't click anything else than just the Rufus stuff, because it doesn't boot all the time if you don't if you use the media creation tool. So use Rufus and use a small USB thumb drive, and you're going to see it's going to work fine. I did that, and that works great. You know, it's just fantastic for booting of the Windows install. That's for sure. And you're saying, well, you know, you stopped the install because you didn't want to continue. If you click Setup from within Windows and you use the option of, you know, personalized install instead of the automatic install process, you can still do a pretty, you can still do a dual boot style install if you want or anything. It's going to work for sure. Yeah, you know what? The problem with the Windows 8.1 store and Windows 10 store, there are differences, and yes, there are stuff for Windows 10, there are stuff for Windows 8.1, and there are stuff that works in both. I think it's a pushy way again of Microsoft saying, look, you know, we want you to go to Windows 10. That's why they have it only in the Windows 10 store, pretty much what I think. That's for sure. And thank you for the congrats on the 20,000 subscriptions on my channel. It's appreciated and really, really nice. So let's check it out. I'm gonna check it out here. We have we have Sean Robinson that's saying that he's got a Windows 10 upgrade today. Let's see if we have any Windows update. I'm going to check it out. Sean Robinson in Etobicoke, Ontario, Canada. Not too far from me when we think of the global aspect. Yep. There's an update for Windows 10 version 15.11, KB3140741. And let's check it out as we'll see. So KB3140741. What is this patch? It's a small update, and it was pushed this morning, apparently. And it's stability improvements for Windows 10 version 15.11 servicing stack. If you're installing a servicing stack update package for the first time, the package of the x86 version, and okay, still not visible. I'm going to check out the history version if something showed up. Yeah, nothing is on the history version right now, so nothing there, but apparently it's a stability improvement. So that's pretty much what is KB3140741. So anyone that has one of those updates, you've got that update that popped up, and thanks Sean for letting us know about this. And yeah, it is a update for some kind of stability issues with the stack. As we get more information, I'll post a video or something about this later on today. I'm waiting for the Windows website to give us more details, basically. So as we continue on, so optional updates, I don't really install much. Other things that recommended updates, these are a little more important, but you know, they're not security issues or really bad problems in general. So I would say that, you know, I'm not sure I want to touch these updates usually. I didn't do the optional updates all the time. That's for sure. Robert Greene talking about the sneaky way of Microsoft pushing the upgrade practice, and he says he got 3 clients this week that they were totally unaware why their computer was upgraded. Question 2 of them in detail seems the promo came up through an auto update, one on 8.1, the other on 7. The idea of a big okay or no should be presented. These clients are not technical savvy. Also, 85% of the general public aren't neither. That's true. Makes work for me, but with a bad taste for the big Microsoft. The Voice of Canada, keep up the good works. You have a lot of following because you are honest and care, which is, in this day and time, are rare. Love all your videos and live shows. Hang in there. Bob Green from Nesbitt MS, which is MS Minnesota. I always get mixed up with these abbreviations for US states. Yeah, the problem is there is an interaction because people click OK. And that's the thing. That's why first thing is first, that's why I do not think people did nothing to get it, because I haven't seen it on my clients. And basically, it's the people just not knowing that when you click OK, they're going to have an upgrade to Windows 10. And the issue is there. So that's why I still think that the I didn't do nothing is not the case. Is I clicked OK and didn't understand that I was going to get a forced upgrade to Windows 10. Now, again, I think Microsoft is dishonest in doing that, and they need to have a yes or no button, not an OK that if you click, you just kind of said, yeah, I'm going to, okay, install it. Let's go. That's the problem. I think that is a problem, a major problem, for sure. And yep, people don't know what they're clicking, so it has to be clearer. Lots of angry users, I see it, and I see it on my channel. A lot of people complaining what the hell Microsoft did, why they do that. I don't understand why. Look, Microsoft's pushing Windows 10 to the maximum that it can, but it did a few bad moves recently. That sneaky update, that security update, that also contained that little bar, that green bar in Edge or Internet Explorer, basically, that popped up, not Edge, but Internet Explorer, and said, hey, you got to go to Windows 10. Yeah, okay, that's not really cool. And that really pushy way of Microsoft of, pushing the updates to people that don't necessarily want them. And one of the things that's even worse is that people have the upgrade when they turn on the computer, and they're at the EULA where they have to say, well, I accept or not the contract. And the problem is you're already in Windows 10 when you're there. That EULA contract should be before you upgrade. Should say, do you accept or not? Not after, because, if you refuse, you're going back to your old operating system. Problem is that rollback doesn't work well all the time. That is an issue, and Microsoft, I don't know. That's one annoying thing about Microsoft, I can tell you that. GWX control panel is your friend. If you want to prevent that, GWX control panel and the ultimateoutsider.com, so the ultimateoutsider.com/downloads, you have the GWX control panel. Download this. This will prevent the forced upgrade of your operating system. It is the tool that I tell everybody, you don't want to have Windows 10, install this control panel, and let's hope that it continues working and preventing the upgrades to Windows 10. It is an annoying thing. I think Microsoft is, you know what, that's the biggest problem. Microsoft is pushing. It's okay, I understand. It's your product. I understand you want to push, but come on. you can clearly state what you want to do, not do it in a sneaky way where you just don't, man, I get discouraged when I see that. If you want to be open and you want to be, I don't know, are they panicking because they want to have 1 billion installs by mid 2017 or something they said, and maybe they're seeing that they're really far away. One of the things that I did see this week though is that the forced upgrade, that sneaky thing, is actually working because there's an increase in Windows 10 installs. Okay, but are people happy with their Windows 10 install or not? That's the other thing that you need to know. Really sneaky way, that's for sure, and I don't approve that. That's for sure. I really don't approve, and that's why I posted warning videos telling people, look, be careful. This is happening right now. That's why I'm telling you about the GWX control panel so that you can stop that sneaky Microsoft way of doing things. And past 20,000 subs on the channel. Thank you, everyone. I've got many messages saying, hey, it's cool. You got more than 20,000 subscribers. Yeah, that's cool. I worked hard to get there, and I hope we'll get even more. That's for sure. Stephen Mill that has questions about RAR and zip files and stuff and compression and stuff like that. So first of all, he's talking about RAR files that are multiple. So they have part 1, part 2, and so on, and everything. So first of all, let's talk about the zip files and RAR files, or all sorts of compression used. First of all, let us know one thing. Zip files is a compressed form. RAR is also a sort of compression. The reason they exist, first, they started existing because zip files compress a lot. So in the times of slow internet connections and old modems, basically zip files were very, very popular because you'd take something that is big like this, compress it big like this, and then in the computer, once you download it, because it was so small, it didn't take a lot of time, you uncompressed it like this. And the way it works is simple. In a file, there's always redundancy. So there's a file, for example, say you have a text file. If you notice in a text file, say you got a Word document, there's a lot of white space in between the text. So the zip file, what it does, it looks and it says, oh, okay, well, you know what? There's 13,420 empty spaces in here. So what it does, it's going to say, instead of giving you 13,000 zeros that you have to download, it has an algorithm that says, okay, here's the first number that tells me how to replace everything. Here's the other number that says these are zeros. And then it says there are 13,000 of those. So instead of having 13,000 zeros, it has a little algorithm that says 13,000 zeros are like this. And so it's this big instead of this big. So basically that shrinks the files. Now zip files, as time came by, were less and less efficient. Why? Because today with powerful computers that we have, compression is the norm. Most files that we actually use today are already compressed. And the computer in real time uncompresses, recompresses. And that's why zip files, their use has been different now. It's been more of a, let's take 35 files and put them all in one file for easy download. And that is more of the zip file used today than compression itself. If you compress an MP3 file, for example, with zip, you'll see that it's pretty much the same size. Why? Because an MP3 is already compressed. But if you have 20 MP3s, instead of sending 20 files, you put them in a zip file. So you got one big file that has 20 MP3s. RAR files use a different type of working. RAR is a great way of compressing very big files. And that's where he's asking the question, how do I work this? There's part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Yeah, RAR files often work like that. If you have something that's 2 gigabytes large, what it will do is let you put it in this compressed state, and it will divide it in 2 parts. And that means that you have the possibility to send each part one by one. So, for example, if there's a maximum that you can download in a specific file, say email will give you very often a maximum, I believe it's for most emails, it's something like 50 megabytes for a attached file, and even some are smaller than that, some are 10 megabytes. So what you could do is use RAR and say, I want to divide a 500 megabyte file into 10 50 megabytes. So you have part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and so on, and send each part one by one. Sometimes you have them compressed in one big file also. What happens is when you uncompress part 1 has all the information that tells it, oh, well, you know what, if you want to reconstruct this file, you have 10 parts, and you'll have to uncompress all the 10 parts to have the original file. One of the programs that I love using for compression and uncompressed stuff, and it's not free, is Power Archiver. It is my favorite piece of software. And when you go to powerarchiver.com, this software will uncompress anything. I mean, any type of compression, it uncompresses, and you can compress also. And if you have multiple RAR files, for example, it's going to recreate the original file. It's going to work fine. A little trick, it's not a, if you like the software, buy it, but a little trick that I can tell you is that software, even though it expires in 30 days, it still works after the 30 day. It's just that they're going to add a little delay telling you, look, you have to pay for it. But you know what? If you like it, please buy it. It's a great piece of software. I find this is the best program for compressed files. That's for sure. So that's pretty much it. I hope you understood pretty much what I wanted to say with that. But it's one of the ways that very often it compresses and uncompresses. We have another question here from Sophia. Sophia says that she loves the live shows. She watches every week, and when she doesn't have time, she looks at the saved show. Questions from Sophia are: I got Office 27. I've got 2007. I've got Office 2013. I have another computer that has Office 2016. So far, I've been opening files with 2007 that I created on 2016, 2013, and I don't see why there are new upgrades. Can you explain? Yeah, well, first of all, if you were able to open them, it's because their 2007 version was upgraded with a module that lets you view the docx files. Because 2013 introduced the docx file system or extension for Word files, and every Excel had XLSX or something like that, and so on. Every PowerPoint had PPSX instead of PPS. It's a gimmick to kind of render these versions incompatible with the 2007, but the 2007 does have a module that you can add, and it's free, and you get it, and probably you got the module. But that said, it's not totally compatible. So if you do stuff in 2013 or 16 that are very advanced, that have a lot of formatting, you will see that you cannot open it with 2007. So that's the difference here. There are some new features added to these files that aren't backwards compatible. 2013 and 16 are pretty close. I don't really see much that you do in 2016 that you can't open in 2013. The problem is more with 2007. Now, you're mentioning that on one of your computers, you're thinking of adding Office. And you say that you've seen me talk about Office 365. What should I get? Office 2016 or Office 365? Well, you mentioned you have multiple computers. So immediately what comes to mind for me is that you should get an Office 365 subscription. Because if you have more than one computer, what's cool is the subscription here gives you 5 machines. Say you have, you told me you have a 2007, a 2013, and already a 2016. Well, plus another one, that makes 4 from what I'm counting here. Office 365 is going to cost you $99 a year for the regular version, or $69.95 for the personal version, which has Word, Excel, PowerPoint. If that's enough for you, that's what it comes from. What's cool? 5 license. You have all 4 computers, plus you have another license for another machine, tablet, or PC. So it's less expensive than buying Office 2016 for each machine, which will run you more than $100 for each. It also adds a nice possibility is that the Office 365 subscription gives you 1 terabyte of OneDrive space. That's 1,000 gigs online where you can store stuff. Yeah, the annoying stuff is that you get a subscription, so every year you have to pay, but at least you have all your machines covered. I have Office 365 because I have, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 computers and 1 tablet that run Office. So I've got 5 devices. Office 365 covers everything. I like that for that. If I only one machine, I'd probably buy just 1 copy of Office 2016 with Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, which is mostly what I use. But Office 365 is cool for that. Multiple machines. It actually costs less than buying it for every machine. Plus, you get 1 terabyte online. And you know what? One of the things that I want to say here, Office is a great product. But if you're not a business user, and if you're not somebody that exchanges Office or Word documents or stuff with other people, you know what? Why not get a free option? The alternative free options that work really well and that open, by the way, all Office documents. LibreOffice is one. LibreOffice, which is libreoffice.org, is a great free Office suite. They're at version 5, totally free. And you know what? For pretty much everybody that wants to have an Office suite that will do, word processing or Excel, or there's an equivalent of everything in here for $0. And for a lot of people, this is way okay. Another one is OpenOffice, openoffice.org. Another free version of OpenOffice. Apache OpenOffice 4.1.2 is released now. openoffice.org. That also is compatible, opens most of the standard Word, Excel, and PowerPoint stuff. And you know what? It's free. And I can tell you that as a tech guy, for probably 90% of the people that I see, it's quite all right. So I hope that this answers your question for sure. And I'll answer one last question. First, I'll just a comment. Tim Robinson says no 15.11 update here yet in the UK. It should come since I have it here, and another one, and we have Sean Robinson that also has it I would guess it would probably come in. You know, these updates go in waves, so some countries get it first, and then it as the people upgrade, you know, then other countries start getting it. So you're probably going to get it later today or tomorrow, for sure. So I wouldn't be um, surprised you get it tomorrow. And to answer the last question that I have here, and I have more that have arrived today, and I'll be answering next week. So the last question is from Kelburger, or Kelburger, says, what do you think will happen in Windows after 2025? Since this is the last version of Windows, or am I wrong? We've talked about that. You know what? Yes, it's true that Windows did say this is the last version of Windows. And one of the observations I do have on that is that we've learned recently that, you know, 10, 15 years ago, Windows was the #1 cash cow of Microsoft. Microsoft would make money off of Windows, and that was the number one thing that would give money to Microsoft. We learned that in the last quarter, Windows is less than 10% of what Microsoft brings in money. So it gives you an idea that Windows isn't important anymore for Microsoft. It's not what they make money on. They now make money on cloud services, which is much more interesting for them. They make money with games. That's why they bought Minecraft, and they have the Xbox stuff. They make money with Office. But you know what? Windows is at #4 at less than 10% now. That means it kind of puts into perspective the fact that, yeah, I think Windows 10 might be the last version of Windows that will be upgraded from time to time. We'll see new stuff appearing here and there. We also have to look at the PC market. What will the PC market with Windows operating system look in 10 years from now? PC sales are down, and that's for everybody. I mean, PC sales are down for everybody. Yeah, Mac sales are up, but that always makes me laugh because people will always remind me, oh yeah, but Mac sales are up. You know what? When you have this and your sales are up, you have this. It's not like when you have this and your sales are up and you're here. People stop buying PCs, and that also will impact Macs. And it's not complicated. Why did Apple yesterday say, oh, this iPad Pro is the perfect PC? They're not just, you know, putting a nail in the coffin of a PCs with Windows. They're putting a nail in the coffin of their own MacBook computers when they say that. Why? Because they actually see that their own MacBook computers, the sales aren't there. You know what? If you remove iPhone from Apple, Apple just doesn't have anything. Mac sales are not good. They're not sustainable. Apple cannot live on MacBook sales at all. It doesn't have enough sales to sustain Apple. And you know, iPads are in the downward spiral also. So Apple has right now only one product. That gets everybody nervous because Apple has one product only now that's really, really, really working, and it's iPhone. And it needs to sell iPhones like crazy because that's the only way that they sustain their money. Microsoft has been really intelligent in its way of moving along. People thought Microsoft is, that's, you know, the IBM of today. We don't really know, and it's like they're not going to do. No, Microsoft is super intelligent in the way they're advancing. They've embraced the cloud totally. They've been dumb with some options. They've been dumb with mobile. They, I think, could have really, really jumped and got a big chunk of mobile phones if they wanted. But they didn't. Why? Because Steve Ballmer didn't think that, you know, mobiles would be the future. That was a stupid decision. And And now it's too late. Microsoft, I'm not sure Microsoft can do anything anymore about its dwindling Windows Phone stuff. And with the PC sales down, Windows is less and less attractive as a product or a service for Microsoft. Less money, they're going to put less resource in there. PC sales are down, that's going to push Windows away also. So what's going to happen? You know what? We're in this world where mobile stuff is important. We're in this world where Windows isn't the dominant, it's the dominant operating system for computers, laptops, desktops. It ain't the dominant operating system anymore. The dominant operating system right now is Android. It's running on a hell of a lot of devices. And you know what? That's the future. I think I think Windows is still going to exist in 10 years. Microsoft's still going to have some kind of little division with, it's just not going to be what it is now. It is really being transformed into something else. We're heading for the future. And we'll always have people that want to have a desktop or, a laptop. People tell me, oh yeah, well, Linux is the future. It's not. It's not, because it never did catch on. It always stayed very low profile. And, even now, whatever numbers you want to say, I did check out the numbers. They're 1%. Linux is 1%. Not more than that. And as PCs go down, Linux isn't there. It's not there in the mobile. We're hearing of maybe possible Linux mobile stuff with Ubuntu mobile and stuff. It's not there. I don't think Linux will ever catch on. Linux is there for the PC enthusiast, the guy like me that wants to play with something that's different from Windows, different from Mac. And, for servers, Linux is very, very important in server stuff. But I mean, Linux isn't going to be there in 10 years. It's still going to have that small little thing, that small 1% or even less maybe in 10 years. It's going to become more of a server thing. All servers are going to run Linux in the future. I don't know. That could be something, but it's not going to get there for the general public. And so, we're getting into a very, very unusual period. For a long time, we could see ahead what's happening. We could see ahead that Windows was there for a long time and everything. Now we're at a moment where we don't really know what is exactly going to be the future in PCs and in our devices. We're really at a point where a lot of people aren't sure they want to have a computer anymore. We're in a point where young people, the young people that are like, teens at 15, 16 years old, they don't care about a computer. They care about their phones. They do everything on this. This is the future because it's small and it's always with you. And that's why mobile is taking on the world. It's because you got it everywhere. I have this every time I leave the home. I can go on the web, I can go my email, I can, young people don't even email, they text. SMS is the way to go. So it's going to be interesting to see the future. And I think we have to adapt to it. I will sure adapt to it. I will, as we go into different things. I already have an Android channel. I have a iPhone channel. I have a Linux channel. I will, have channels that will adapt to the future of our technology. As long as Windows here, of course, we're going to continue talking about this. So with these words, take care, everyone. This was Live Tech Show number 25 for March 22nd, 2016. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Remember, you can send your questions through the week to helpwithyourcomputers@gmail.com. We try to answer to our best knowledge your questions. Hey, in about an hour and 15 minutes from now, Learn the Tech Show tonight, we're talking about CPUs. What are central processing unit? What are CPUs? What do they do in our computers? We wouldn't have any computers, any devices like these if we didn't have CPUs. We'll have a little brief history of it, and we'll talk about today's CPUs. And this is, of course, as usual, questions from you. So several people actually asked about CPUs at different levels. So we're doing our show today, Learn the Tech, talking about that at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 2200 hours Universal Time. Take care, guys and girls. See you next week. Learn the Tech. Show number 26 next week. Going fast, 25 already. I just can't believe how fast time flies. Take care, everyone. See you next week for another questions and answer live show, 3 p.m. every Tuesdays, 1900 UTC. Bye-bye.